Good afternoon, everyone. This is October 29th, 2025, and this is the Planning Commission meeting. Would you please call the roll?
Chair Borders.
Present.
Vice Chair Cron.
Here.
Commissioner Brooks.
Here.
Commissioner DeChristopher. Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Preston. Commissioner Pizell.
Here.
A quorum's present.
Thank you. Commissioner Pizell, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The public is invited at this time to comment on any topic that relates to a matter over which this public body has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power, including any such matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action will be taken on a matter raised during this period for public comment. There will also be public comment for any of the individual items as we work through the agenda, but this is just kind of a place for general comment. Is there any public comment at this time? All right, hearing none or seeing none. Item 5A, possible action, is the approval of the minutes of September 24th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to.
All right. I move to approve the minutes of September 24th, 2025 as written.
Thank you. Commissioner Crone made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Brooks. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6A and 6B we're not going to discuss today, but they are up to be continued. So if I can have a motion on item 6A.
Chair Borders, I'll move to continue item LU 2025-0353 to the November 18th, 2025 plan.
All right. Thank you. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Pizell got that one. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, Commissioner Brooks, you're on a roll. You want to try again?
I move to continue item LU 2025-0354 to the November 18th, 2025 plan.
All right, and Commissioner Pizell, thank you for the second again.
I second.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. I would like to now, let's see, skip to item 6E.
Yep.
A discussion and possible action regarding an application by Ron Wilson for a special use permit to extend or expand a non-conforming setback as permitted by the Carson City Municipal Code 18.04-030 to construct a second-story addition using the same non-conforming setback as the original residence located at 6 Savage Circle, Assessor's Parcel Number APN 003-043-06. Heather.
Good evening, Heather Mazzo for the record. So this application is located at 6 Savage Circle, which is on the north side of Savage, on a cul-de-sac. And what the applicant would like to do is extend a second story exactly above the existing footprint of the first story above the garage. And with that, the existing residence encroaches into the front setback slightly. Some portions only extend a little bit over 2 feet into the front setback, while others on that cul-de-sac bulb curve extend a little more than 5 feet or almost 6 feet into that front yard setback. If you visited the site, you'll notice that it doesn't look like that's the case because the right-of-way on the cul-de-sac is actually very large, and a lot of that cul-de-sac looks like it's really part of the front yard for all of those homes there. So our code does have a provision that states if you want to continue with a non-conforming setback, there is an avenue to do so by requesting a special use permit. So the applicant is requesting a special use permit to continue with that same exact setback for that second-story addition. With that, I'll go back to that previous slide. Condition number 7 does note that there are 2 sheds that are on, it said the south side, but that's incorrect. With a motion to approve, if that's what the commission chooses to do, I would recommend changing that to the west side of the property. But in our review, we did note that those 2 existing attached sheds don't have a permit record, and they do encroach into the required side yard setback of 5 feet. So I did speak with the applicant representative, and the applicant is okay with removing them. The way that the condition is written is they can either remove them or they can request a permit to modify them to meet the setback and keep them, but make them code compliant. So with that, here are the proposed elevations, and as you'll see, they actually don't show the 2 shed pop-outs on that side elevation. So staff is recommending approval of the request. I didn't have any public comments or call-ins. The applicant and his representative, or their representative, is available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
When the property was originally constructed, it met the setback requirements at the time. That's the way I read that?
That is correct.
Okay, are the other houses in that cul-de-sac in the same situation?
Sorry, Chair Borders, I actually didn't take measurements from the residences to the property lines.
Okay,
I would say, just looking at the cul-de-sac and where the right-of-way is, I wouldn't be surprised just because the right-of-way is
Okay.
so large.
so theoretically, all may be legal non-conforming.
It's very possible.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Mr. Crone?
Yeah, I had one. It goes back to condition 7 again, so, so are they going to remove, I mean, I know it's an either or. My feeling would be is they should be removed, but I'm not gonna force that particular issue, but, what is the client, what is the applicant willing to do, or?
So really, the condition is just to make sure whatever happens, that it's compliant with code at the end of the day. So that's why it's an either-or scenario, and the applicant can speak to what their plan is.
Okay. Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. Are you all the applicant?
Hi, hello.
Please identify yourself.
My name is Ryan Wilson, and I'm the applicant. Yes, we intend to just remove those sheds. They were attached by the previous owner. We've owned the house for 2.5 years now. So I've been using them, but I'm happy to take them down, and I figured during the construction process they would come down anyway.
All right. Are you familiar with the recommended conditions of approval?
Yes,
All right, and they're acceptable to you?
yes.
Okay. And any other questions for the applicant?
Would, one other thing, if we did say, if we did clean up condition number 7, talking about changing it to the west side or just remove it, would you have a problem with that change to that condition?
I guess I don't understand the question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try again. Right now, it's an either-or situation. Staff is suggesting that it's probably just fine the way it is. If you're planning to remove them, do you mind if we, in condition 7, basically state that in the condition? I'm not gonna, I mean, it's not one of these things I'm gonna fall on my sword for.
Yeah.
So.
No, I don't have any issues with changing condition number 7.
So you're suggesting we modify condition 7 to say the west side of the property and will be removed, period.
Period. Depends on what the other commissioners want to do, but that's what would be my thought.
Okay.
It just cleans it up.
Go ahead.
Are they on the south side of the house or the west side of the house?
They're west side of the house.
Yeah, but it
Well, we're gonna amend it to say west.
Yeah, that's the condition or the recommended modification to the condition that I've got on the slide there. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions now for the applicant? All right. Commissioners? Mr. Crone, you
Yep.
changed it, you read it.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I move to approve special use permit LU-2025-0352 based on the ability to make the required findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report with the modification to condition 7 reading, prior to the issuance of the building permit for a second-story addition, the applicant shall remove the 2 sheds that are on the west side of the residence.
Mr. Chair, before I didn't realize Commissioner Cron was making a motion. I thought he was clarifying his recommendation. I'd like to caution the commission on the change. What, I feel so loud. Do I sound loud?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why it's so loud. What Heather's, or the associate planners recommended is essentially, she said, we have a non-compliant situation, please come into compliance. Either option brings it into compliance. He could remove those sheds on day 1 and put them right back in a lawful location on day 2. So I think the way it's written with the correction of going from south to west is appropriate because it's simply seeking a compliance situation. And we don't really have the right to tell him he can't have sheds in his yard. He can, he just has to comply with the setback. So sorry for the late input.
That's all right. I withdraw my motion.
Okay,
I can try again.
you want to try again?
I'll try again. I move to approve special use permit LU-2025-0352 based on the ability to make the required findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report and with the modification to condition number 7 to change the word south to west as discussed during the staff presentation.
All right, now, is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Brooks? Oh, you didn't second? Oh, Commissioner Peterson did, okay. I got my glasses on, I can't see down there. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item, excuse me, item 6C, MPA 2025-0385, discussion and possible action regarding an update to the Carson City Transportation Manager, Chris
Martinovich.
Martinovich, yeah, on the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Regional Transportation Plan, a long-term planning document intended to analyze the regional transportation network and to identify current and future needs to maintain a safe, efficient, and sustainable transportation system.
Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to, you just announced it. The Transportation Manager, Chris Martinovich, is here, as well as the Transportation Planner, Kelly Norman. Campo is preparing to update the Regional Transportation Plan, and they're taking public input. I thought it would be perfect, and I was really grateful that Chris and Kelly agreed to join us tonight to have them give a presentation to this commission, since you served on as a steering committee for the master plan update. And as you'll recall, as part of the master plan update, there's chapter 9, which talks about a connected city. And it has some really specific recommendations, particularly with Highway 50. And so I think it's good for you all to hear from Chris and Kelly, and then to provide any input you think might be appropriate as they go forward with this plan. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Hope. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. I'm here with Kelly Norman, Senior Transportation Planner. She's going to take through a presentation, but I just wanted to first note, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. Our public comment period for the Regional Transportation Plan will open on November 5th. We're working on finalizing the plan and getting that posted next week. We're going to do a press release and other items. So Kelly has more on that, as well as some public outreach opportunities we'll be doing. But definitely, as Hope mentioned, looking for feedback through that public comment period on those items that we hit well on or need to do a little bit more research and background on. So I'm going to turn over to Kelly, who's going to take us through a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, like Chris said, my name is Kelly Norman. I'm the Senior Transportation Planner for the Carson Area MPO, or Campo, as it's known. Some of you may be familiar with Campo and its activities. However, I don't want to assume anything of you or the audience, so I provided a little bit of background. Campo was formed in 2003 when the population of Carson City, Western Lyon County, and Northern Douglas County edged over 50,000 people. And 10 years later, in 2013, Campo expanded to include Dayton in Lyon County. The planning area is shown to the right in the map. So the MPO's job is to plan for transportation as these urbanized areas continue to grow. Campo does not own or operate the transportation system, but plans and programs funds for projects and operations and serves in a consensus building role. There's a 7-member Campo board, and Campo's housed within Carson City Public Works with about 6 employees working full or part-time on MPO activities. Campo staff's been working on an update to the RTP, or the Regional Transportation Plan, since February of this year. Campo updates the RTP about every 5 years. An RTP has specific components to include, which is governed by U.S. code. The RTP update effort must be continuing, comprehensive, and cooperative, and include performance-based measures to make data-driven decisions and encourage public outreach and participation. Campo staff, with board support, reviewed and updated the vision and goals. These vision and goals were consulted along with Carson City's vision and goals, Lyon and Douglas County vision and goals, and as well as NDOT's vision and goals for consistency. The goals, the final goals for Campo include safety, preservation, mobility, quality of life, prosperity, and adaptability. And these goals provide the foundation of priorities by which staff prioritize projects within the RTP. There was extensive public outreach with several partner agencies and the public throughout this process, including a public survey with 267 respondents. This is a slide covering and summarizing some of what we heard from both the survey and our partner agencies. Campo's growing relatively slow, but there's still congestion, which may become an issue, especially on US 50 towards Dayton and south along 395. There are many agency plans that point to the project needs within the region. The RTP references those plans. Respondents listed challenges with public transportation within the survey, but also ranked transit as a top priority. Other top priorities for improving the region's transportation system include sidewalk and bike connectivity, roadway safety, and road condition. And transportation safety is a continued concern for many citizens. The RTP outlines the transportation needs of the region for the next 20-25 years. It contains a review of all of the funding sources and the projected revenue into 2050. The Campo 2050 RTP selects and prioritizes projects in both a short-term and long-term. The short-term is for 2026 through 2035, and the longer term is 2036 through 2050. A public meeting was held on September 24th. We've got some other public meetings planned as well, so there's other opportunities as well. And so what to look for in the next month. We're going to be pretty busy the next month. There'll be a 30-day open public comment period, as Chris mentioned before, November 5th through December 5th. Staff will present the draft Campo RTP at the November 12th Campo Board meeting. Staff will host 3 public meetings to discuss the draft Campo RTP with the public. Those will be scheduled in Carson City, in Dayton, and in Douglas County. During the open public comment period, staff must document, record, and respond to all the comments. Those will be presented when we present the final RTP to the Campo Board, and that's expected in early 2026. And we wanted to leave you with a little preview of the first chapter heading of the Campo RTP. We haven't presented it to our board, so we don't want to go into too much detail, but we wanted to share that. And that concludes my comments. We're happy to discuss any of your concerns.
Questions? Commissioner Brooks?
Thanks so much. There, now maybe people can hear me. Thank you so much. It has been a lot of years, but my early career work was working with MPOs on RTPs, and so I'm wondering if some assumptions from them have changed. Back then, if you wanted federal money for a major infrastructure project, it needed to be part of a long-term plan, like the type you're developing. Is that still generally the case? Okay. It's less about your presentation and more, frankly, for the public to understand why this is important, because Carson City has manifest infrastructure issues that it wants to address in terms of its roads and stuff. I just wanted to make sure that dynamic was still the case, or be corrected if I'm wrong.
That is correct. In order to receive federal funding, it must be mentioned in both the RTP and in the TIP that it has funding, that we've identified the funding, that we prioritize that, and identified specific funding, that we have local match, that all of those contingencies have been considered.
Great, thank you so much.
Commissioner Brazel?
Thank you. I have been included on commenting on the early part of the connectivity comments, and I think as Commissioner Brooks noted, this is where the funding comes for a lot of these big projects and smaller projects as well. And this also is what adjusts the timelines for the individual projects, is the community input. So I think it's real important that the public be aware that this is out there, and this is their opportunity to comment on transportation improvements throughout the community, in all 3 communities essentially.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cronin.
Terry, no, okay. You're listening. One of the things that, as we went through the master plan for the city, the land use master plan, several things came up that I'm hoping that the RTP plan will take into account. And the land use along the corridors is very important, we believe, to the community and the economic development of the community. And NDOT has a variety of different, especially when you get out past the freeway, out east of town, you end up with a situation where NDOT, as I understand it, controls a lot of the access issues out there. And we're hoping that over time, or at least I should keep it to me, I'm hoping over time, as the city improves the Highway 50 corridor, the William Street corridor, that, there can be some accommodation or some working together to actually not only provide the access that businesses need along there, but also the pedestrian safety, the bicycle safety, as well as the landscaping stuff that could extend the visual corridor out from just William Street out past the freeway and out. And I didn't know what the plans were, or how the regional transportation plan would address that.
Thank you, Commissioner Cron, for the question. Campo's been working with the state DOT on our US 50 East Carson corridor study. That study will also be presented to the Campo board at the November 12th meeting. That study identifies some specific and broad types of projects for the US 50 East corridor, all the way to State Route 341, Virginia City turnoff there. It looks at changing some of the intersection configurations over the long term. It looks like some short-term improvements to improve mobility. At the same time, the city has been working with NDOT on their planned rehabilitation project for US 50 corridor, and they plan to repave that corridor. And we've been working with them trying to make some access management type upgrades to that corridor, including adjusting some median islands, making it safer and easier in some cases to turn left, and more visibility. We're also looking to improve the multimodal paths along US 50, particularly the north side of US 50, as part of that project with NDOT, using funding that comes from Campo to NDOT to do that. Long term, I think one of the recommendations of the US 50 study is for the city to develop an access management plan for US 50, and we've taken some steps to develop an access management plan for the city as a whole, not just the US 50 corridor, examining what's in Title 18 Appendix of Code and understanding, is our driveway spacing right for these types of streets like US 50 that has sort of quasi-high speed, a lot of driveways? Can we partner with NDOT? Can we look for ways to simplify and improve that, not only from a traffic management standpoint, but from a safety component as well?
Kind of a follow-up question to that. Is Campo staff looking at, okay, in my mind, you have land use decisions are also a traffic decision. So you end up having kind of the right hand and the left hand. And I'm really hoping that the right hand, which as I see is Campo, is looking at the land use plan related to what the city just passed, so that the right hand knows what the left hand wants to do. And so has Campo staff taken a serious look at the land use plan and incorporated? It's just nice for the public to know that the left hand know what the right hand is doing, and that the city has put a lot of effort into, and this board as well, and staff, planning staff, into the land use plan. And I think land use plan decisions are also traffic decisions. And so have you guys taken an opportunity to kind of compare the two and see where there might be some real opportunities to dovetail in with what the land use plan is doing?
What Campo staff has done is we've definitely taken a look at the new master plan and understood what those land use changes were. We use a travel demand model to kind of estimate those future year traffic patterns and projections, and we've updated our travel demand model based on the newest master plan from Carson City. And that looks less at zoning and more at the master plan designation. If this is zoned, or I shouldn't say zoned, but if this is designated a certain use, that can be built out to a certain amount. And so we've assumed in our travel demand model that, okay, if that happens, here's how many households, here's how many businesses could be there, which then generates some amount of traffic that gets distributed to the network. So we've done that for Lyon County and Douglas County and Carson City as well. And so that's how we've kind of adapted the newer version of the master plan into the transportation planning realm. Campo is in support of higher density type of development. That's going to be in the RTP, where those low density, more rural type of developments create more transportation infrastructure that doesn't see a lot of use, that doesn't pay for itself. And so, focusing a little bit more on those multimodal corridors, bicycle, walking, transit, and vehicular uses at a little bit higher density are something Campo is definitely, more proponent for than more rural type of development.
Mr. Chair, along the lines that we're discussing right now, I have in front of me my master plan, and I haven't opened it to the action plan matrix. And if it's okay with the commission, and this might be a tiny bit lengthy, I'd like to go through some of the action items that are really specific to, I think, what we're talking about here. And then the commission will have an opportunity to sort of underscore what's in print and help the RTC staff and the Campo staff understand what's in our master plan. Because I think as Commissioner Cron was saying, the relationship between land use and transportation was very, very important in the preparation of this plan, and the action items speak to it. So I can wait if you want, if you'd like, or I
Well,
could just do that.
I think that would be fine, but the place that I was going before you said
Interrupted
that
you.
was that somewhere along the way, and to me, it occurs to me as the planning commission in our annual growth management planning session, that's a good place for Campo and us to get together and talk about where we are. And I guess if you then now will go through that, they'll have an idea what we want to hear when we ever do that.
Absolutely, and I think rather than during growth management, maybe during the master plan annual report would be a good time.
Sure.
Okay, so there's going to be about 10 of these, so just get ready. Okay, so first of all, we talk about having a vibrant downtown and gateway corridors, and I think Commissioner Cron was talking about the gateway corridors. A gateway corridor would certainly be Highway 50, North Carson, South Carson. So it talks about enhancing safety, functionality, and the appearance of the gateway corridors. Appearance is pretty self-explanatory. Functionality is, I think we should underscore safety, because in our listening tours, we heard a lot about the safety of the corridors, particularly among pedestrians who are using North Carson at night or Highway 50 at night. So that was the goal. The action item 6.1.1, continue to implement the complete streets improvements for city-owned portion of North Carson and East William, along with the goal of improving the entire length of each corridor and establishing a seamless connection to downtown Carson City. So what you'll hear throughout this is we're not looking at just the city's portion of William Street, but going out to the county line. Is that, before I go to the next action item, I'll just invite you all to underscore if you want, or I'll just keep going. What's your preference?
Go ahead.
Okay. 6.1.2, in coordination with Campo, which they're here, and NDOT, develop an area plan for the Highway 50 Corridor East to establish a coordinated vision and corridor-specific policies for land use, access management, and I'm going to stop for a second. Access management's really important. We need that area of roadway to be safe for pedestrians and bikes. And the key to getting there is managing access, which means we're not defaulting to the NDOT standard. Okay, so going back, to establish a coordinated vision and corridor-specific policies for land use, access management, the multimodal transportation, landscaping, signage, lighting, safety, and other considerations as appropriate. Adopt supporting regulations as appropriate to implement the plan. So again, it's going to what you said, Mr. Chair, is that's part of the master plan, and outside the master plan, we need to be working with Campo on this plan for Highway 50 East. 6.1.4, review and update access and connectivity requirements in Title 18 to support complete street objectives and enhance multimodal connectivity between gateway corridors and adjacent uses as infill and redevelopment. So on Highway 50, that's going to be east. And when I say Highway 50, I keep meaning 50 east, not west, although west is a different beast. But on 50 east, connectivity is going to be tricky, and it's going to be important. 6.1.5, collaborate with property owners in the development community on opportunities to consolidate driveway access points or implement other strategies that would improve the safety and functionality of gateway corridors as development proposals are brought forward. So as the transportation team of the city is looking at these development projects, particularly along these corridors, we should look at opportunities for shared driveway so that we can control the access. 6.7, consider the need for additional neighborhood improvement districts or landscape improvement districts to help fund ongoing maintenance of streetscape, wayfinding signs, landscaping, and other public improvements that benefit businesses and property owners in defined areas. And again, this is under the gateway corridor. Let's see, what's our next one? Oh, did I say 6.6? Sorry. That just talks about, again, I don't think I said 6.1.6. Develop and adopt streetscape and signage standards as per Title 18 for private property with frontage that abuts gateway corridors. Incorporate requirements for native and drought-tolerant landscaping, pedestrian and bike connectivity, lighting, and site planning strategies that will promote and implement a cohesive and attractive appearance on gateway corridors. 6.1.8, encourage NDOT to complete the interstate of Highway 580 and, Interstate 580 and Highway 50 interchange. I'm going to drop to 6.2.4, evaluate infrastructure needs to support planned uses and development intensities, explore the range of financing and recovery strategies to support the necessary improvements. 6.2.5, invest in the infrastructure and public services along the gateway corridors. 6.26 is consider and establish a program to encourage redevelopment along North Carson Highway 50. And there was one more, I think. Hold on one sec. Oh, sorry, a couple more. Continue to coordinate with Campo, NDOT, Regional RTC, and adjacent counties and partners on transportation plan issues. Identify and prioritize and fund projects that include upgrades to bicycle and pedestrian safety infrastructure. Conduct periodic updates to the city's transportation model. I'm curious that you just did that, Chris. That's great to hear. Based on future development projections to ensure feasibility of development patterns portrayed on the land use map. Coordinate and review the development proposals with local transit providers and RTC as appropriate to respond to existing and planned transit services. Seek opportunities to enhance the city's arterial and collector street network in conjunction with future development to improve connectivity and support broader transit. And then last one, update access standards to clarify requirements for development occurring along major gateway corridors to preserve their functional integrity, capacity, and safety. So I think a lot of these standards, one, the plan obviously for Highway 50 East is key in looking at actually sitting with Campo and figuring out how do we make this happen other than just having this one communication. And then secondly, I think as part of ongoing development review, we have to look at these, and this is adopted by our board of supervisors, you know that. So this isn't just me reading a document. This is a recent policy document by our board saying, let's make Highway 50 multimodal. Let's make it safe for everybody. And a big part of that is going to be the development review and looking at those access standards. I'll stop.
Okay. Yeah, 1 second. What she really means is we got an oar in the boat now and we want to row with you. Commissioner Preston.
And I agree with that completely because we did hear a lot about roads. And I think one of the things is I'm glad to hear this goes all the way to 341 and then all the way south to Jacks Valley. How far does it go up on Spooner?
Campo's limits go about to Golf Course Drive, more or less.
Okay, I just that in the last couple of days, I've been coming down Spooner and seeing that park and ride where people go shooting across 4 lanes with trucks coming down and the amount of construction. It's really frightening. So that's one of the areas, but that intersection, I think that's just a given. That's a mess. The other situation that we have right now is that Highway 50 years ago used to have a big thing in the middle. Then they put in the suicide lane. Now people just go as fast as they possibly can. And so we end up with so many problems at Deer Run and so many people flipping, even bigger rigs and trucks and so forth. Would there be any kind of center lane, traffic calming devices that, for instance, like they have on some of our other roads like North Carson Street?
The US 50 corridor study does have recommendations for a number of what are called high Ts, and they're similar to what's out near past Dayton along US 50 and Stagecoach and the points east where there's some islands in the road, or similar to what you see on US 75 south of Carson, where you have those signalized high T intersections with medians and things to Johnson Lane and Stephanie Lane and Airport Road. Those are in some of the recommendations for some of the intersections like Empire Ranch Road. There's some frontage road recommendations around Nye Lane area to change the way so that all the streets don't just tee right into US 50 at every location like they are today.
And then the other thing is though too, is when there's some consideration on this, I know that when we are approving different developments or things with higher traffic and so forth, that we're putting aside money for improvements later on. I'd be really interested to see, because I know initially for Appian Way, they were talking roundabouts, and that has now escalated to actually being a actual light at some time. And the same thing with Silver Oak, which Silver Oak has gotten to be pretty crazy, especially now with, the motels and so forth going in there. So I would be interested to see, what in your plan you're looking at for some of these intersections to be eventually controlled. The other thing is safety, and I realize that we're a night sky area. However, we have some really tough pedestrian situations, and we've had some fatalities within the last year on on 50 and on 395, which makes it rather difficult. And I don't necessarily think that the flashing lights, people are somewhat getting immune to those. And I do know that sometimes people cross them, they're looking for people. There is no people because they've already made it through. So that's been something. The other thing that I would like to ask too, and this is more for people that are interested in putting in businesses and so forth. I've lived in several different municipalities, and what they did is they actually had traffic information. So you were able to tell how many car trips were on the different roads and so forth. Now, to try to find that, you have to go to NDOT, this and that. Is there something that Carson City has for actually road trips, for instance, on Stewart Street, which is now ours and no longer NDOT, for South Carson, which is now ours and no longer NDOT, part of 50, which is ours and no longer NDOT, and 395 North, which is NDOT. I mean, there's some real disparity as being able to get that information, which is very important for bringing people into this community to see whether or not, Dunkin' Donuts wants to know how many trips. And without having that information readily available, if it's available, please let me know where to find it. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I just wanted to provide a couple of responses to Commissioner Preston. I will note that the Regional Transportation Plan is derived from a bunch of other planning studies that have been conducted by various agencies, including Campo. So there are some very specific recommendations that do end up in the Regional Transportation Plan. In general, though, the Regional Transportation Plan doesn't get granular to the point where this intersection needs this treatment unless some other study has outlined that that should be a priority project. So for instance, the Regional Transportation Plan recommends looking at North Carson, and the Carson City RTC is doing the North Carson feasibility study. And so we're going to be looking at those types of intersection improvements. But the RTP won't specifically say this intersection will need a XYZ in the future. So I just wanted to be clear on what the RTP does and what it doesn't do. And so another example is US 50. It has broad recommendations for US 50 based on the US 50 corridor study. It doesn't go into, at this intersection, here's one project, this intersection, another project. So that just keep that in mind. It's a little bit higher level document based on other specific planning studies. In regards to lighting, similar comments, but it does have some specific lighting projects, again, from various other projects. US 50 was a corridor that was identified as needing some significant lighting. And so you'll see in the RTP a US 50 lighting project as a result of other studies. And if North Carson comes out needing specific lighting projects or other studies, those will come through as individual projects at the appropriate time. Related to traffic counts, the city we do collect some counts. We don't collect a lot of counts. NDOT still does the majority of the traffic volume collecting, and they do report that on a public website. The site's called Trina, NDOT's website, Trina. They're open to the public. You can go in there, zoom into the map, and you can see all the count stations that NDOT counts on an annual basis, regardless of road ownership. The city doesn't report or provide any additional counts to that. We rarely collect counts unless it's for a very specific purpose, like a public complaint or a city particular specific project. So That's where we are on traffic counts. We haven't really looked at expanding that, as it would be an extra effort for staff to start doing that.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for you guys coming. I think if we can, one takeaway is that this group and our new master plan and our land use and you all are going to be linked now at the hip. And we need to keep finding ways that we can talk to each other and keep those channels open so that you know what we're doing and we know what you're doing, and the community can see where both of us are going. And, you're right, probably the annual review of the master plan's a better place to do it. But I know that we get reports from in fact, most of the departments in the city when we're either doing master plan review or the growth management plan, and we'd like to include you in that so you can tell us where we are and what you found or what you think is going to happen, so it'll help us when we start looking at these projects when they come at us. And if that's something that's doable, I think we need to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we're definitely willing to do that. And I'm going to put a plug in. In December, Campo is going to release its annual network monitoring report, and I believe we've shared that with you before, but that is a single snapshot at 1 year in time, latest available data on a variety of transportation related metrics that primarily come from the census, but some of it is our own data as well. And so that'll be presented to the Campo board in December. And so that's kind of our 1 year,
Then-
vision of.
I guess then I would ask you that after you present it to your board, if you'd let us have a copy of it so we can see it
definitely
also.
do that. Yep,
Just put us on the distribution list.
sure thing.
Okay. There's no action. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Brooks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Less a matter of answering the question right now, but I'd like your thoughts on it. Maybe they can come back through Hope. You're working with Douglas County and Lyon County as well. If there are elements of that working relationship and how you're conveying information back into their planning processes that you think would be helpful here, I'm sure we're open to those ideas as well.
Commissioner Pazell?
Yeah, just a quick question. As one of the stakeholders, I was allowed to put comments on an interactive map. I was wondering if that's going to be available to the general public for bike routes, multi-use trails, pedestrian connectivity. Is that going to be available during that comment period as well?
Yes, we can make that available to the public as well. The results and all of the comments that we received were presented at the public meeting. The bike ped comment map is still open for anyone. So is the QR code that's on the Campo website. So anyone can log in and go to the site itself too. Yeah, so that will be with, that will be open as well.
Thank you. That was real handy, and in spite of showing that I hadn't ridden in some locations after making some comments, I wanted to delete them, but thank you, because it was real helpful.
Mr. Chair, I think this is the beginning of a conversation
Yes.
that has a ways to go. And it's nice that we've begun.
Is that your public comment? Is there any other public comment?
I had one more question.
All
real
right,
quick.
go ahead.
Just going back to the whole comment of macro versus kind of micro, kind of related to this plan. One of the things we also heard in our plan was the missing links that happen within not only the sidewalk system, but also within the multi-use path system. So in this plan, are you, so I guess I'm trying to figure out micro versus macro. If you're giving the public to be able to come in and provide specific things on specific trails and specific connections, how does that then translate into a policy and or those issues being taken care of that have been identified by the public? So kind of help me out with I mean, I understand it being kind of a 20,000-foot flyover, but yet you're implying that it's not in some cases. So just can you help clarify that for me?
I would recommend that if you wanted to look in detail at non-compliant ADA ramps, missing sidewalks, missing multi-use paths in particular, go to the ADA transition plan and look at that. What the RTP does is take the regionally significant connections along major roadways, major multi-use path, large sidewalks, bike lanes that connect the region and bring those to light as regionally significant projects.
And I'll add, Commissioner Cron, that, from a policy level, when we get comments like there's missing sidewalk here, we'll use that to say, okay, we're going to note that as a policy, when we do projects, we're going to look at constructing missing link sidewalks because we get that comment a lot. And so a policy level RTP decision would be projects shall construct missing links of sidewalks. From a multimodal perspective, it's, is connect these two sections of the multi-use path because they're missing and you can use transportation dollars to do that. So that's sort of the macro versus micro comparison.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Okay. Thank you all very much. We'll see you again, I hope. Item 6D, discussion and possible action regarding the application from Matthew Espy for a special use permit to allow for the modification of a ground-mounted equipment associated with an existing telecommunications facility to add a diesel generator and associated equipment within the existing lease area on the property zone single-family 5-acre located at 5364 Sierra Highlands Drive, Assessor's parcel number APN 007-051-06. I'm sorry, 66. Heather.
Thank you. Heather Manzo again for the record. So this was noticed for the September meeting. It was continued at the applicant's request to get some application materials available to staff and the commission for this item. You may remember maybe about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, we saw a request for a co-location at the same site. This request doesn't have anything to do with the tower itself. This is only to add the diesel backup generator and associated equipment, fuel tank, things like that on the ground. They would all be contained within their existing enclosure. So with that, staff is recommending a lot of the same conditions that we had seen on the previous project that had to do with the ground-mounted equipment. So limited lighting, limited construction hours because this is on a single-family residential site. And then, the screening and things that we would require for a cell facility. So staff is recommending approval of this request. The property owner did contact me when this project was noticed for the September meeting, just asking questions about it, but did not provide any specific public comment for the item. And the applicant is available should there be any questions for them at the appropriate time. And that is all from me for now.
Heather, it may be in here, but I didn't see it. Is there a condition that specifies when the diesel will be run for test purposes?
There's not, and we can ask the applicant if they have plans on when that would be run. Just having a little bit of generator knowledge, that usually runs every couple of weeks or so, but we can ask the applicant up to answer that question.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is
Hi.
Jared Hailstone.
The
sorry.
question I have is, we've got construction hours, so we don't wake the neighbors. And there's really only the neighbor. But my question is that diesel generator needs to be exercised once a week or whatever it is. And that's typically done automatically, but what hours would it be set at?
Normally, the tests are done on a weekly basis, and the exercisers are done based on the code with the project. It's normally held on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and it's once a week. Oh, it would be starting at 8 a.m.
Okay, so you'd run it on Tuesday or Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't bother me because I don't live that close to it. I'm just curious as to whether or not we would, yeah, never mind. Commissioner Preston.
I'm confused on in the application, there's a cover letter from the Clear Creek Youth Center. And it's talking about all sorts of different things, but I'm not seeing that this is on the Clear Creek Youth Center. I'm seeing that there's monies and notices to be paid, and I'm not seeing who's authorizing it and why. I don't get it.
Commissioner Preston, can you refer to which page? I know about the reason that it's called that. Yeah, so on the cover letter, I did ask the primary applicant representative the question about why it was called what it was called. And when this site was originally established, that was the name that AT&T identified this site as being named. So that has carried forward over time. It is not a children's center, it is not, but that's what the site is called. So when they prepared the response letter to staff addressing items and during our completeness review, that is what they identified it as on their plan.
Well, I'm wondering whether or not that can be corrected. And the reason I'm going to say this is that for years, many years, I actually managed the Clear Creek Youth Center, which is a separate property that is owned by the state of Nevada that is across Golf Club Country Road. So there's no misunderstanding. And I know that when Scott Ford originally put these in, that was part of the thing, but it was very clear that it was not to ever be on the Clear Creek Youth Center. So that's where I'm AT&T picking a name out of a hat that actually is more of a monumental or historical thing is a little bit of a concern.
For clarification of record, that's not a Carson City identifier, so it's something that's in their documents and their reference documents, not something we have control over. So I understand your perspective, but it's how they've identified their CVI reference number.
Mr. Crone.
I want to kind of circle back to the noise thing. In looking at the documents and the plans, it talks about a 190-gallon fuel tank and a level 2 acoustic enclosure. Could you explain to me what kind of noise abatement that's going to give to the neighbors? Again, in an emergency situation, I realize that that's an important part of it, and that noise is just a part of the emergency, and hopefully the emergency only lasts a couple hours. But if it lasts a couple of days, now all of a sudden that whole neighborhood is having a diesel generator going 24 hours. So could you give me a little better understanding of how that acoustic enclosure mitigates the noise?
Hello? Yes. So to give you an idea of with the level 2 acoustic enclosure, at approximately 10 feet away from the generator, it will produce a sound that's equivalent to a vacuum cleaner, and about 25 feet away from the generator, it'd be equivalent sound of a conversation between two people.
Okay, so basically not obtrusive at all is what you're telling me.
Not intrusive at all. The neighbors in the property that are nearby would not be able to hear the generator from where they're currently at.
Okay, and then also I had one more question. So that answers my question about noise, thank you. The next question is 190 gallons of diesel fuel. The tank, is it double walled? I'm assuming it's not buried. A 190 gallon diesel fuel spill not would be a good thing. So how is the site set up to minimize that potential accident?
Correct. It is a double-walled painted steel. And, sorry, I was like overthinking your question. Double-wall painted steel. There is spill protection. There's alarms that will go off signaling if there is a leak detected. That will be noted to the AT&T ops tech that's in charge for the site. They will then notify if they're going to be going to the site or if they could remote stop the site from where they're at.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions? Okay, public comment? Motion.
Can do that.
All right, sir.
I move to approve special use permit LU-2025-0324 based on the ability, excuse me, to make all the findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Pazell. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. 6F, discussion and possible action regarding an application from Sunday Company LLC for a special use permit due to a change in ownership to allow for a cannabis cultivation facility on a parcel zoned general industrial located at 5700 Morgan Mill Road, Assessor's Parcel APN 008-54138. And we do the other one too?
Please.
And discussion, item 6G, discussion and possible action regarding an application from Sunday Company LLC for a special use permit due to the change of ownership to allow for a cannabis production facility on a parcel zone general industrial located at 5700 Morgan Mill Road, Assessor's Parcel Number APN 008-541-38. Heather.
Thank you, Heather Ferris, for the record. The subject property is located at 5700 Morgan Mill Road, is approximately 1 acre in size, and is zoned general industrial. The property is currently developed with a cannabis cultivation and cannabis production facility. Both cultivation and production facilities are allowed in the general industrial zoning district, subject to first obtaining a special use permit. The original special use permits were approved by the Planning Commission on October 24th, 2018. Approximately 67% of the facility is dedicated to cultivation and 33% of the facility is dedicated to production. The property and the operations have sold. Per Division 1.20 of the development standards, an SUP for a cannabis establishment is not transferable between operators and locations within Carson City. Therefore, a new SUP is required due to the change in operator. The new owners propose to continue operations consistent with the previous approvals. It was determined in 2018 that the SUPs for the facilities would be consistent with Division 1.20 of the development standards, and the same remains true today. A complete analysis of compliance with development standards begins on page 4 of the staff report. And I'm happy to review any of those items with you if you have questions. In order to approve an SUP, the Planning Commission must be able to make the 6 required findings in the affirmative. Staff was able to make all findings and is recommending approval. Cody Smith is here representing the project, and I'm available for questions.
Okay. What's the relationship of Sunday Company LLC and the other manufacturer producers in Carson City? Are they a new one or are they just acquiring? Or do you know?
Sunday Co. is I don't believe they own any other facilities in the community.
Okay.
To my knowledge, they're new.
This may not be pertinent, but the license then goes with the SUP, or do they have to have the license separately?
They have to get a license as well.
Okay.
So they'll have to maintain the state license, their business license, obviously keep their SUP in good standing.
Okay. And my other question that I asked you earlier that I know Stephen's going to answer for me.
Yep.
is water usage for that facility. You got any record of how much water they used before?
Stephen Potato, Development Engineering for the record. I looked at the past usage over the past few years, and that does appear to be in line with what they paid for connection fees. It's not exactly apples to apples because one is gallons per day, the other one is the peak use.
Yep.
And we calculated that based on the equipment that was getting installed at the time of the building permit, so no concerns there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cron?
Yeah, quick question, Heather. When when ownerships change for liquor licenses, the sheriff gets involved and looks at the background. Is that something that happens with these facilities as well? Does the sheriff weigh in, or is that something out of it? So is the sheriff a player in this or not?
So typically what happens with a special use permit is I will reach out to the sheriff's office to see if they have any comments, questions, concerns. I did not receive anything back from them with this one. Most of the time we receive essentially that we have no concerns with this. Like I said, I didn't receive anything back from them on this one. They don't have any major review that goes along with it. They are also not involved in the business license.
Okay, no, just checking. It's, you know, again, just because of the facility that it is, I was wondering how the new owner has been vetted, if at all, or if that's an issue.
That's done at the state level.
That's done at
Yeah.
the state level. Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Preston?
Yeah, I had a question, especially on this particular site. We had a lot of zero lot line things happening on this site, but then the other thing is that we had some situations where there was actually odors coming from this site, and I believe it has been mitigated. However, I do know that was before Morgan Mill has been built up as much as it has been. Have we had any problems with anything with? Okay, not recently, because when it originally came in, we did. Great, thank you.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
Good evening. I'm Cody Smith, representative for Sunday-Co.
You've read the conditions of approval for both of these
I-
SUPs, and they're acceptable to you?
They are, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay. You have anything you want to say?
No, not this evening.
Smart man. Is there any public comment? All right, hearing none. I'm ready to go have dinner. Commissioner Brooks?
Yeah, I move to approve LU 2025-0358 based on the ability to make
The required findings and subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, you're on a roll again. No, they were right together.
I move to approve LU
359, based on the ability to make the required findings and subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report.
Commissioner Brazel, did you second also?
I will second as well.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Dinner?
Not
look,
yet, not yet. Almost. Yes.
I am between you and dinner. Okay. First, and I don't know if the camera is gonna be able to pick this up, we'll see. I have this. Yes. I have this exhibit, I'll call it. So this is an area which, after the meeting, feel free to come see it, or anybody in the public can come see it in my office. It's a conceptual plan drawing of the area south of Highway 50, including the V&T on Eastgate. James Parker, who some of you may recall came to one of your listening sessions, his father bought property in this area in 1966. In 1973, Mr. Parker joined his father and built an airport over in this area. It's not where the airport is now. And he worked with Art Hannafin to have this concept drawing prepared. And Mr. Parker provided this drawing to me and asked me to share it with the community. So I'm taking this opportunity to do that, and I know it's not that visible, but if anybody would like to come see it, you may do so at my office. In terms of where we are this month, October 27th, today's 28th, Building Division, total valuation of permits as of October 27th is a little bit more than 19 million. Overall valuation 2025 is more than 200 million. We've had 51 housing starts so far in October. That's a big number for us. 22 single family, 29 detached, including the attached, single family attached was 22. The attached is part of the build out of Arbor Villas. So that's over on Little Lane. You'll remember that project got approved, I think, in 2016 or 17. It kind of stopped for a little bit. D.R. Hortons picked that up, so that's a build out there. We also are seeing construction continue at Lampa, Anderson Ranch, the Toll Brothers project south of Anderson Ranch. I forget what they call it. What, I'm sorry? Ash Canyon, but they have a name that begins with a V. I forget what it is. And out Plateau, way out Highway 50. I was out there today, and they're going strong. So year to date, 491 housing starts, which is, again, a big number for Carson City, but well below our growth management number. Planning Commission, you know what you did tonight, so I will not review that. Code enforcement opened 84 cases. They closed 62, and they issued 8 parking tickets. Business license, we had 54 new business licenses issued this month so far. Upcoming events, lots of stuff going on Nevada Day, so I'm sure Scott will have that in there. The Nevada Appeal will cover that, but these are individual special event permits that we issued for Nevada Day. It goes on. Then when we are done with Nevada Day on November 14th, the Carson High Craft Fair at the high school, a Christmas craft fair on November 15th at the community center, and then the turkey trot on November 27th. For anybody who wants to run off their turkey. And that is the report that, of course, Mackenzie prepares for me and always does a great job with. In terms of your November meeting will be on November 18th. You have 2 items from tonight, which will be carried over, and we apologize for that noticing error to both you and the applicants. And we have 4 items for you to review. One will be a request for a zoning map amendment from general office to public regional. The property is owned by the state, so it makes sense that it gets a public zoning designation. There's a special use permit at Stewart and Fifth Street for the state building. So again, we talked a lot about the state as part of the listening tour and the master plan, and the administrative branch of the state government will be before you in November. You saw the legislative branch about 4 months ago, maybe less than 4 months ago. You'll have a special use permit for outdoor storage. That's an existing business on South Carson that rents large equipment, and they're seeking to store some of that equipment outside. And given it's, I think, in excess of 20%, it's a special use permit. I'm reaching deep into my memory on that code section, Heather. Hopefully I got it right. Okay, and then, Silver Oak. So Silver Oak's a PUD, and there's a section of Silver Oak, I forget which phase it is, maybe phase 22-ish. Anyway, a couple years ago, you looked at it, and they amended the terms of the development agreement and the PUD to change some setbacks. Well, now that they're building in that area, they actually want to modify the setbacks again. And because back in, I think, 1997, the development agreement included the setbacks, when we were looking at it about 3 years ago or 2 years, 2020, I guess it was, wow, 5 years ago. When we were looking at it then, I actually, in looking at it with Heather, I found an email I had sent to Mark Turner saying, well, it might make sense to take the setbacks out of the development agreement, but we're so far along, it's probably not necessary. Well, it probably was necessary because now we have to amend them both. But it's a pretty contained section of Silver Oak, so you'll have that. You won't have the development agreement before you, but you'll have the amendment to the PUD, and that's the scope of that work. And I'm going to let, I think, Commissioner Cron and Pizell tell you about our experience at the planning conference in the presentation.
Yeah, we actually had a meeting before the conference. I stumbled into the conference room a little bit late and was informed that we were not going to do the standard format where 4 people sit in front of a large audience seated in rows and have a moderator ask us questions. And then at the end of the presentation, about 45 minutes at the most, open it up for questions. What we did, in fact, was mimic the listening sessions for the master plan. And Hope, in her inimitable way, managed to collect everybody, get them to all sit in a circle, with the exception of, I think, about 3 people who came in late, and ran through the similar process she did with each listening session we had at the library, asking each person their name, what they liked about their community, what they disliked about their community, and what they did in 2006 versus what they do now. And, you know, true to Hope's persistence and personality, she managed to get everybody involved and everybody to comment, and remembered everybody's name, which still amazes me. The interaction flowed pretty much like the listening meetings did. And once we got through that initial process, each of the commissioners had an opportunity to go over what they experienced and what they thought and how the process went. And we ran a little bit over, but we did manage to get some questions. The interesting thing that I found was everybody, including people from Henderson, liked about their community was the fact that they had access to open space and trails. It was a consistent thing. They said didn't matter if they were living in South Reno in apartment buildings or in Henderson. They all liked that about their community, which I thought was fascinating. Having lived in Las Vegas, I wouldn't equate it to what we have here, but they were very happy with what that their community offered in that instance.
Well, I wanted to call out and thank both our fine chair and Hope, because they were the ones that kind of came up with that idea. I want to give credit where credit's due. I came in and I kind of had the more traditional approach, you know, where you talk at people, you know, for 45 minutes and then you ask questions. And so Chuck and Hope said, let's do something different. And then it just kind of rolled along and eventually rolled into, let's just do a listening tour with them. That'll be our session. And so it worked great. Initially, I was the one. Hope sent me out with the unenviable task of getting people away from their tables and into this circle. Now, if you've been to conferences, usually what happens is you find yourself a spot and then you stay in that spot, okay? And so when it came time to get everybody into a semicircle, and we were taking this big room that had tables everywhere, and we pushed tables back a little bit and put chairs in semicircles, and there were some people that just weren't exactly happy with me. So I took a bullet or two for the team, at least visual bullets for the team, because they rolled their eyes at me, and it was like, well, we're here. And I was like, I know, but you need to be up there. And so anyway, we got them there. I wasn't quite sure some of the body language sitting or what some of the body language I was looking at. I wasn't quite sure how they were going to interact, but doggone it, Hope did it. She went right around the circle asking questions. What do you like? Getting their names. And in true Hope fashion, it became a very, very congenial group by the time we were done. Everybody was listening to everybody. So one of these things we talk about at the listening tour, we emphasize a lot about us listening to the citizens. But I think what happens also is the citizens listen to the other citizens in the room. And I started to see that happen with this group as well, where they were listening to each other and their points of view and what was important to them and what things they would like to change in their community. So even though I know we stress a lot about us listening to the community, I think, the community listened to each other too in an environment. And they were interacting with each other. Part of it too is that some of these people knew each other from before. So, you kind of in the state of Nevada, it's a small group of planners when you really think about it. So a lot of them knew each other over time. And so, but they had a good enough relationship that they would kind of even jest with each other a little bit. So it was a very comfortable format by the time we were done with it. I think there were some other people, at least again, body language reading. There was probably about 50 to 60% that were nodding and getting it. There was probably another 30% that was we were shaking their professional paradigm by having by having the planning commission being the steering committee. And Hope even explained to them that sometimes we didn't like what the consultants did, and they didn't like what we did. Let's put it that way. The consultants didn't sometimes care for the particular direction that we took in some times, and I thought Hope did a great job of explaining why the commission held to its guns when the consultants said, I don't know if that should do that. And so anyway, I thought it was a great conversation piece. I thought it went well. Mackenzie got to see us in action. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but she was there. Heather Ferris was there. So it was a good representation by city staff as well. And those things I found to be very educational. I think it's important from a staff's perspective, as well as from a commission standpoint, to go to these sessions, one, not only to rub elbows, but also just to get different perspectives and sit and learn different things. So I want to thank the Nevada APA for putting the conference on and for Hope encouraging us to go. So thank you.
Good. I want to thank everybody that participated because they waved our flag well and properly, and I think that's good for all of us.
And I'll just mention that Ellen DeChristopher participated as well at the conference, and I did reference both our former chair, Terry Preston, and our current chair, Chuck Borders, in making comments and explaining things that you both were emphasizing throughout the process.
Okay. Other commissioner comments? Hope the slides we got today on our meeting are wonderful.
The city manager will love that. That came out of the city manager's office, and it's a new process that we're doing. And actually, I forgot to mention, I forgot to tell Mackenzie we had to change to that format. So her stuff will change to that format as well. But it will create consistency, and every single city department will be doing the exact same slide deck. So
But
I'll give him that feedback.
It was very nice and it was helpful.
Great.
So
And legible.
and legible. Yeah. Any other comments?
Quick one, I do want to note that I will not be at the November meeting. I'll be in Mexico City. I too will be absent. I'm retired, yes.
Okay. And well, that's three. All right. Okay. Anything else? Public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
Thank you. 6